Okay, hello Suraj. Welcome. Okay, welcome everyone. Glad that you are all here. Hi there, Ali. We're going to continue. I am. We're going to continue with our Buddha Book Club practice. This book that we are reading and looking through together is by Ajahn Brahm, and it's titled The Art of Disappearing. So, the art of letting go of our attachment to self, letting go of our self clinging, the belief in a story and being in a character in our own movie, Art of Disappearing. Hi, Anna and Maddie. So, as we usually do, we're going to begin with a few minutes of meditation. Now, for these events, I always thinking about I want it to be accessible, and I want people to be able to just join in and participate and follow along. And usually that means talking and making noise and content, right? You need a special, because we want to share with people. We want people to feel invited to join and everyone here to feel invited as well. So, you think of a special cool thumbnail and the video gets started and hey, we're talking about this. Let's get into it. But really, really, that's not the way to approach this work, this practice. We really have to show up and let go. We have to show up and be willing to put ourselves down. Otherwise, sure, we might stick around, but there's a fee for entry here. There's a fee, there's a tax for letting go, and that is a willingness to let go. That's a motivation and a intention to let go, to be willing to let go, to show up and put the body down. So that's why it's really important that we do start with this meditation. So we can all find our comfortable position for our body. You can have your shoulders back and your spine straight, your head up. But most important is to be comfortable. Find a comfortable, stable position. Start to become aware of the experience of your body right now, the presence of your body. Usually we're too involved with moving the body around. We're too involved with doing things. We're going that direction and we're moving away from that direction. So it's not accessible, it's not simple, it's not easy to become aware of what's happening in the body, what the breath is like. It's not so much that we want to use our willpower and focus in on the breath, but it's more that we use our wisdom power to put the body down, to get comfortable, to be somewhat still, and begin to become aware of the process of breathing that is happening. So we can breathe deeply. We can really fill our bodies with this wisdom power, this noticing power. We breathe in deeply and bring the wandering mind, the thinking mind, the jumping around thoughts and focuses, we bring that mind home to the body and we start to notice. We start to be more and more aware of our experience, what's happening. There might be an itch, we can scratch it. There might be a pain in the body, we can adjust our posture. But we really allow gravity to start doing its work. So as we are aware of the breathing, as we are aware of the body sitting here at this moment, more and more putting the body down. You might notice some pain or even pleasant feeling, and it's just an invitation to continue noticing, to continue allowing the body to settle, to calm. We begin to face this moment, this body, this mind, this experience, right here, right now. Noticing and feeling all the different parts of the body, the face, releasing and relaxing any tension that you notice, the head and the neck, it's an interesting situation that we are so tied, so stuck to ideas about the body, ideas about everything, that we could hardly start to know that there is a body. Not thoughts about the body, not ideas about the body, but there is a body that's here. And the breath is like a way of swimming to notice the body more and more. If we just let go completely at this stage, we're not quite ready to float. We'll sink into our thoughts or our judgments or movement, or I tried this meditation, I'm done. This doesn't work, right? So we kind of swim into this practice of noticing the body, being aware of the body that is here, and the breath helps us to do that. We can rely on the breath continuing to happen and supporting us to notice the head area, the neck and the shoulders, the shoulder sockets, the upper arms, all the way from our shoulders to our elbows. Elbows to the forearms, the wrists, the hands. Breathing and looking at, noticing the chest, the shoulder blades, the spine, the upper, middle, and lower back, the rib cage and the lungs, the heart. Feeling the breath as it flows into the lungs and flows out. We get distracted, we fall into movement or thinking, but then returning to breathing and looking at, noticing the body, the breath in the stomach and lower spine area, lower back, all the way down into our pelvis, our hips. We don't need to materialize our hips or our pelvis. We don't need to put forth effort to bring about a pelvis. It's there. So it's more this willingness, this allowing you, this trust that the body is here. We are noticing what that experience is like, the experience of having a body. Feeling the breath deep in our body, coming in through the nose, going down the throat. Our breath traveling past the heart, down into the lungs, the belly. The whole upper body, breathing, aware. And our awareness moving down into the groin area, the butt area, the thighs. There's bones in there, there's fat, there's flesh, there's blood, there's all kinds of stuff. But what is the experience of it like at this moment? We are so primed and ready to be aware of the body, to connect with the experience of having a body. But we often turn away from that and grab a hold of some line of complicated thinking. That's just nonsense. We disregard the body. We forget about it. Oh, this is garbage. This isn't TikTok. Why am I here? What's this body? I'm going to have an existential crisis of thoughts and beliefs, stories. I'm not going to, the body is useless for me. But no, we really start to notice it at this moment. Feeling the breath in the body, this access point to being aware, to being present, being grounded. All the way down into our thighs, our knees, the calves and the ankles, all the way down into our feet, the bottoms of the feet and the toes, the very tips of our toes at this moment. What's really important? What is really essential? Is it this thought and that thought? This word and that word put together? At this moment, breathing deeply and becoming aware of the body. The whole body sitting here at this moment. Even if you don't like it, even if the body doesn't feel like you want it to feel or you expect it to feel. Maybe it feels like a big blob of emptiness and bones and sensations here and there. Good, great. Be aware of the body. Just breathing, just sitting, just being aware of the body at this moment. Taking a deep breath in, we can say to the body, "Hello, body, I see you." Breathing in deeply, we can say to the body, "Hello, body, I promise to care for you." Breathing in deeply, saying to the body, "Hello, body, I promise to listen to you." Taking a deep breath in, fully aware of the body at this moment, and as we breathe out, we can relax, release, refresh the body, and begin our continued reading of Ajahn Brahm's book, The Art of Disappearing. So we left off yesterday with Patini Saja, which means letting go, means giving and expecting nothing in return. Our job when we show up here is to give and expect nothing in return. What do we give? We give our full heart, our full attention, our full embodiment, our full sincerity, and we expect nothing in return. We just show up to the body and mind. We face this moment. We don't meditate to gain badges or attainments, or maybe especially to get special understandings. We're not trying to get something that we can go and tell our friends about. I did a meditation practice today, and I got this, and I got that. We are trying to abandon our defilements. We are meditating for freedom. So defilements here, abandoning defilements, this means that we are working to abandon anxiety. We are working to abandon fear. We are working to abandon hatred, animosity, anger, ill will towards others, jealousy, depression. We're working to abandon that. not to fight with it, not to fix it, not to solve it, but to abandon these defilements, to abandon these suffering states. We are meditating for freedom. So we'll go on to this section here. Be content with the present moment. Some years ago, I was in Japan, and my hosts put me up in a five-star hotel. So this is Ajahn Brahm's experience of being like a, this is a Dalai Lama level monk and teacher. And so when you're, especially with the Buddhist people, when you're when you are a very loved and respected teacher and monk, sometimes you'll find yourself in a five-star hotel, something like that. So a kind of luxury asceticism. They had forgotten that they should, excuse me, a bit of a technical error there. They had forgotten that they should feed a Theravada monk before midday. By the time we got to a certain high-class restaurant, it was just afternoon. So in living as a monk, we always eat, we always have our meal before midday. And many monks, though, just eat one meal a day before noon. And so a part of accommodating a monk or hosting a monk, especially in Buddhist countries or with Buddhist people, is to get them their meal before noon. So like you're at a restaurant by 11 or 10:30 and you prepare, you arrange for the monk to eat. And because the nature of this tradition is going back to early Buddhism, when monks were really homeless and really like homeless renunciates, um, this way of donating to monks or serving monks is very precious for people because they see it as sustaining the monk's life. And this is how monks live, is just through generosity because they aren't involved in business. We don't, if you see a monk conducting business, selling something or charging for a class or something like that, that's something to, they shouldn't be doing that. And it's not common. So it all works through generosity, where the monks eat, where they sleep, where they live, how they travel, it's through support. So Ajahn Brahm was put up in this five-star hotel, but then was completely they completely forgot to feed him before midday. So it's a big taboo. By the time we got to a certain high-class restaurant, it was just afternoon. I refused to eat, which meant I didn't eat at all that day. I was tired and I just wanted to be quiet and meditate, but it was a noisy hotel. I ended up sitting in this room that people pay a fortune to stay in, thinking I'm in a prison. I was in a prison in a five-star hotel because I didn't want to be there. I soon realized what I was doing and put a stop to that stupid state of mind. But the point is that you can be in prison in a five-star hotel or on a sunny beach. It doesn't really matter where you are. Any place you don't want to be is a prison. And this also applies to the opposite. So very difficult, confusing situations can be a five-star hotel, can be luxury, can be a place of peace. It doesn't really matter where you are. Any place you don't want to be is a prison. So when you are meditating, ask yourself, do I want to be here in this moment, or do I want to be somewhere else? If you want to be somewhere else, you will never be peaceful or get into deep meditation. But if you stop yourself, wisdom will tell you, no, this is good enough. I want to be here in this moment, with my aching legs, my itchy nose, in this noisy hut with my stupid mind. I want to be just here. When you want to be exactly where you happen to be, you're free. When you want to be exactly where you happen to be, right? We just happen to be here. We have a very limited ability to control where we go and what we do. It's easy to feel like we have so much control over it, but really we don't. So when you want to be exactly where you happen to be, you're free. I know of a monk who was put in jail in Thailand many years ago. He was innocent. He was sent to jail when he was about to become the Sanghaраja, the head of the monastic hierarchy in Thailand, because some other monk who wanted that position accused him of being a communist. He was in jail for 2 years, during which time he wrote his biography. He loved that time in jail. He didn't have to give any talks, nor speak to people after meals. He had clean, simple food and a nice little room for himself. He said it was wonderful to have so much freedom. If you want to be in the prison cell, you're free. That was a deep, powerful wisdom teaching for me. I realized that it doesn't matter what I am doing or where I am, whether I'm in an aircraft or answering silly questions or in a crowded city. If I want to be there, then the mind becomes still. At times I wonder, why do I have to do this? This stupid stuff. If I do that, of course I suffer. So instead I say, no, I want to be here. And this gives rise to an incredible sense of peace and freedom. Therefore, when you are sitting in your room and the mind isn't still, don't make a problem out of it. Simply say, I want to be here. And then it does become still. When you want to be right here, right now, you are developing freedom. You are practicing the third noble truth. You are ending craving and stopping the doer. So the Four Noble Truths, there is suffering, there's a cause of suffering, which is desire. There's an ending of suffering, and there's a path to ending suffering, which is the Eightfold Path. Morality, meditation, and wisdom. It's a very powerful strategy. Wherever you are and whatever you are doing, just ask yourself, do I want to be here or do I want to be somewhere else? Every time the answer is that you want to be somewhere else, you are creating dukkha. You are creating dissatisfaction. You are creating suffering. Every time the answer is that you want to be somewhere else, you are creating suffering. You are creating dissatisfaction, unsatisfactoriness. That's simply the second noble truth of the Buddha. Every time you think, I am happy to be just here, you are ending some of the coarser manifestations of suffering. You are following the Buddha's teaching and the third noble truth. Now we have to have we have to have some wisdom in listening to a teaching like this, because people say, well, I'm in a car accident, or I don't know. So people think about the most nightmarish, difficult situation that they could ever be in and say, well, what do you talk, Ajahn Brahm, you want me to just stay in this place and let people walk all over me and hurt me? No, that's not what this is talking about. It's talking about very, very subtle states of mind, how you react to reality at this moment. So, what is the practical way to understand that? Do you think that I am going to be reading this to a child that's hungry, or that a person who doesn't speak English? Are you going to be watching this YouTube video when you're on the run from Russian spies in Ukraine as a freedom fighter? No, probably not. So we have to bring a certain wisdom with us to receive these teachings deeply. It's very much about this moment, this experience. So when you want to be right here, right now, you are developing freedom. You are ending craving and stopping the doer. The selfish notion of I'm doing this, I want to do that, I don't like this. It's a very powerful strategy. Wherever you are and whatever you are doing, just ask yourself, do I want to be here or do I want to be somewhere else? Every time the answer is that you want to be somewhere else, you are creating dukkha, unsatisfactoriness. That is simply the second noble truth of the Buddha. Every time you think, I am happy to be just here, you are ending some of the coarser manifestations of suffering, some of the coarser manifestations of unsatisfactoriness. You are following the Buddha's teaching and the third noble truth. Do we have any question about this idea, especially this exercise of wherever you are and whatever you're doing, just ask yourself, do I want to be here or do I want to be somewhere else? Every time the answer is that you want to be somewhere else, recognizing that you are creating dissatisfaction, you are creating unsatisfactoriness in your mind and in your experience. But every time that you think, okay, I'm happy to be just here, you are resolving, you are ending some of those coarser manifestations, more general feelings and frictions of unsatisfactoriness, of not being satisfied. And you're putting yourself as well in this position to go in, to go deeper into this moment. I am happy to be just here. So, what is that just here? It's infinitely deep, it's infinitely free. Free of the body, free of the mind, free of judgments, free of reactivity, everything. When we say I am happy to be just here, we're going into nibbana, into awakening, into recognizing that there is an ending of suffering in this moment. How? By stopping craving, by putting down the doer. And what really perpetuates that doer very, very strongly and gets us into all kinds of trouble, that selfishness, that small self, that ego, is I don't like this, I don't want to be here, this shouldn't be that. And we get into a real strong state of suffering when we do that. Whereas if we can practice, if we can say, I am happy to be just here, then that very complex, difficult, stimulating situation becomes this place of deep meditation right at that moment. Deeply putting down the coarser, the more general feelings and frictions of I don't like this and I should be somewhere else, and immediately going right there to how do you react to this moment? How do you take care of this moment? How do you accept what is happening right now rather than perpetuating this system of, I've got to get away from this and I've got to get to that? which you can't control anyway. So it's just a never-ending cycle of exacerbating difficulty, exacerbating, strengthening unsatisfactoriness. Anyone have questions, something to share? Well, it's expecting juice from the milkman. The milkman isn't coming by to give you juice. This is talking about your lived present experience right now, where goallessness is more proactive than having a goal because you can't reach your goal. Okay, so when you're at the gym, Ajahn Brahm's not going to be there with you. I wouldn't mind, I'll join you, but Ajahn Brahm's not going to be there. Okay, and um, it's not a time to question, well, what is the nature of weight? That's not what you're there for. Okay, wait a minute, you're in between your lift and you're saying, well, wait a minute, I don't have a goal, drop the weight. Okay, or you're skydiving and say, hold on a minute. What didn't Ajahn Brahm say that I should just be happy to be just here? And well, you're gonna be happy to be just here, and you're gonna meet the earth. You're gonna be embraced. So the point is that maybe there's a better answer for this. Maybe someone else can share. This might be something that someone else has some insight on. But the point is that this is a very deep, subtle, refined teaching, and you're kind of trying to grapple with it is a special position that you find yourselves in, because most people who maybe would feel how you feel, they would just listen to it and disregard it, put that teaching down. But to really take it is either to grapple with it and try to understand it more deeply, try to refine your understanding of what's being talked about here, or to practice it. Those are basically the only two options. And what's being talked about here is to practice it at this moment and to be here in this moment. But it's a very good question that I'm sure we can all empathize with, maybe some of us more than others.
Like I mean, the story is kind of fun, being salsa, but I can relate to that. Like if you're living in a place and you don't want to be there, it's kind of like prison. Maybe overall agree with that idea.
Okay. Anyone else have a feeling about what some wisdom for Quran? Okay, so we have a question here from Noah in the voice text. If you are working through a tough time, how do I put aside my feelings if they are overwhelming? I feel like I have to put them all aside at one time and have difficulty coping with them while meditating. Should I ignore them? If I simply observe them, I find that I end up getting caught in them. Well, you don't put them aside, you face them. That's the practice. We're not meditating to get rid of our difficult feelings or emotions. That's not what we're doing here. We're practicing to face them. And upon facing them, it's just like a pin meeting a balloon. They pop, they disappear because they couldn't sustain themselves. It's our aversion to them and it's our desire for something else in relation to experiencing them that is fueling them, that is making that rubber thicker and thicker so that it couldn't be popped by a quick glance. So when we put the body down and we resolve to practice meditation, we we can feel the breath, feel the body just sitting, just breathing and, and being aware. And when those strong emotions come up, we accept them. We don't fight with them. We don't try to figure out how to avoid them or how to get rid of them. We face them. We look at them because that's the last thing that they want to happen, is to actually be looked at, because it all just dissolves. It's not a real story. It's not that strong. It's not that continuous. Even if it's a memory or something that really happened to us or happened, yeah, sure, whatever, that happened, but it didn't happen the way that you perceived it to happen. Because we take ourselves too seriously. That's why we think, we're living in a Bible or a blockchain reality. This reality isn't encoded on the blockchain in a way that we can understand. Okay, we're not super aliens or something where we're intergalactic space travelers or something. We are human beings, and we have experiences and we have emotions and we have memories that come up and go away. Sometimes those memories or feelings are very strong and they feel very solid. The reason that they feel very solid is because we have developed a very strong habit of perpetuating them through our resistance to them and our desire for other things in relation to them. And so it's this kind of feeding cycle that we perpetuate those feelings, those experiences. So we don't put them aside, we face them. That's the practice of meditation. And it's one of the reasons that community is so essential and so important, because we need to know that we aren't facing our emotions and our sufferings and our difficulties alone, but we're facing them in a world where luckily there's a lot of compassion, there's a lot of joy, there's a lot of peace, there's a lot of loving kindness, there's a lot of forgiveness, there's a lot of gentleness. So we can face our experiences. And when we do, naturally they vanish, they disappear. They lose their power over us. So don't ignore them, face them. And when you find yourself getting caught in them, you you step back. You take a step back from any experience. You don't take it so seriously. Your thoughts are not so serious, okay? Your emotions are not so serious. You need to you take a step back and calm and relax and continue your practice. Your anger is not so serious. Your fear is not so serious. Your existential crisis is not so serious. You do what you want to do. Do your best to take care of yourself. Do your best to take care of the people around you. But your hyper sensualized and seriousized self feelings are whatever they happen to be at that moment. Is not that big a deal. It's not so serious. You're going to eat, you're going to drink, you're going to defecate, you're going to clean yourself, you're going to shave your head, whatever, clean yourself up. All these different things are going to happen. It's a human experience. We don't need to take ourselves so hyper serious. It just causes a mess for us. And when we face that seriousness, we see that it's temporary and it's not that satisfying. So we don't need to take ourselves so seriously. This is actually one of the first something that one of my first influences on the path was Alan Watts. I don't know how many of you know about Alan Watts, but he kind of a philosopher, eccentric kind of guy from 60s, 70s. Has a lot of fun talks. And he kind of drew this contrast between being serious and being sincere. So rather than focusing on this serious psychoanalytical thing about enlightenment or this problem or that problem, try to be sincere in being patient, being kind, being gentle, being forgiving, being sweet, being generous. Prioritize generosity, taking care of other people, taking care of each other. What can we do here to give, to offer, to support each other? So be sincere and be willing to face what you're experiencing, and don't be so afraid of it because it's not so serious. Okay. Thank you, Noah, for such a lovely question. Very inspiring. And Emily over on YouTube shared, I think this might have been in relation to your question, Karan, about well, if I'm skydiving, does Ajahn Brahm does he want me to pull the parachute or just say that I'm happy to be here? There's something to that question, and I think this is what Emily was speaking in reference to, and they said this sounds like what they referred to in therapy as willingness. They would tell me to open my hands to physically accept reality, so maybe a willingness to be with what's happening at that moment. And yeah, that must be about that because that's wonderful. So let's continue our reading. When you are content in this moment, when you are satisfied, this is good enough in this moment. It's amazing what the here and now can teach you. My experience is that by just sitting down and wanting to be here, a nimitta, that beautiful old friend, comes up straight away, simply because the mind is still. So a nimitta here is a part of Ajahn Brahm's meditation tradition, where there's this idea that if you concentrate enough, if your mind stabilizes enough to a certain point in your meditation, then you will see like a bright light, and it's like a mind embodiment of your concentration, a mind embodiment of stillness. So this is a particular tradition of meditation school. It's not something that I emphasize, but Ajahn Brahm does. So my experience is that by just sitting down and wanting to be here, a deeply concentrated, pleasant, still state, we can say, that beautiful old friend of stillness, of awareness, wakefulness, comes up straight away, simply because the mind is still. You have understood that stillness is the same as the mind not moving, the same as not wanting anything and not trying to be somewhere else. Still, most people tend to think, I'll get there, I'll do this and I'll do that, and then stillness will come later on. But it never comes later on. You can only build stillness now. And the only way to do that is by allowing this moment to be. So, the whole structure of our community and our presence, we see each other, we know about each other being here, is to support us in this practice of allowing this moment to be. Whatever the moment is like, you should say, "This is good enough. I want to be here in this moment right now." Whatever the moment is like, you should say, "This is good enough. I want to be here in this moment right now." It doesn't matter what you are experiencing. What matters is whether you want to be here or somewhere else. So you can be completely free in a prison cell, or you can be in prison in a five-star hotel. It's nice to know that in any place, with any state of mind, you can always be free. Understand that, and you understand how wisdom can free you. This is the teaching of the third noble truth, having no place where anything can stick. This is the real meaning of detachment. This is enlightenment stuff. Whatever the moment is like, whatever the experience of your body is like, whatever the experience of your mind is like, you should say, "This is good enough. I want to be here in this moment right now." It doesn't matter what you are experiencing. What matters is whether you want to be here or somewhere else. So let's take a few moments together to practice wanting to be here. Remembering that this is not a state that we're working towards. This is you getting in the front of the line. This is you moving aside that selfish, conflicted, well, I really don't like this. Well, I really don't like that. You're getting in front of the line and saying, this is good enough. I want to be here in this moment right now. So let's try that together for a few moments before we let go even more. Whatever the moment is like, you should say, this is good enough. I want to be here in this moment right now. So we will finish today with some Buddhist chanting. Everyone is invited to bring their hands together, and this chant has the meaning of this is enlightenment stuff. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Sadhu. 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 Okay, all. Thank you for your practice. Thank you for joining. I'll see you again soon. Take good care of your life and remember this mantra. Whatever the moment is like, you should say, this is good enough. I want to be here in this moment right now. And Karan, this doesn't mean don't forget to breathe. Keep breathing, okay? All right? See you all again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bante. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for joining, you too.